Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is Transfers Live. Joining me, as always, is my friend, colleague and co-host, Joe Smith. How are you doing, brother?
Confidant?
Confidant, yes. Yeah. Think of me as your neighbourhood confidant. What have we got tonight? Do you know?
That's what you have to say when someone else moves in the neighbourhood. You have to knock on the door and tell them that, don't you? Just so you know, I will warn you, I am a registered confidant. So
I'm not knocking on anyone's door in my neighbourhood saying I'm a
saying
registered
that you're
anything.
confidant?
If someone knocks on my door and went, I'm a registered, as soon as he went registered, I'd slam the door, lock it, and then get on the Facebook community group and say, there's a nonce in the neighbourhood.
Well, no one said that. I said confidant, mate, which is a good thing.
Just promise me, when you move to a new area, you won't knock on doors saying you're registered. Just promise me that.
All right, whatever. What are we talking about tonight, Jay?
Anyway, we're talking about director of football. We finally got one after 8.5 years, whatever it's been.
Finally.
You know, playing a bit of footsie, we've finally gone and got one.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland, obviously.
Yep.
Edinson Cavani, Cavani Gate, as it's being termed by me.
Disgrace.
Because, you know, does he want to leave, does he not? Is his dad chatting breeze, or is he telling the truth? We'll find out. Also, a right back, apparently Aaron Wan-Bissaka needs a bit of backup.
Your dad's chatting shit, mate. That's what you say to Cavani in training.
Oi, Cavani.
My dad
Tell your dad
to your dad
to shut it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Tell
say
you
that
what,
to
I'll
Edinson
fucking
Cavani.
punch you back
I
to
wouldn't
South
say that to
America
Edinson
if you're not
Cavani
sure,
or
mate.
his dad, to be
Would
honest
you
with
not?
you. No, look, I think he can have a right round, Edinson Cavani.
Do you?
Yeah. Who do you think's the hardest player at United?
In terms of like actual fighting one-on-one?
Yeah, fighting one-on-one, who's your money on?
I mean, just because he's a bit of a nutter, he springs to mind, but
I don't know. He's quite jovial, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's a nutter, but he's a nice nutter.
See, someone like Phil Jones could catch you off guard. Do you know what I mean?
Phil Jones is the sort of person you go, look, Phil, and they'll go, what?
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of that. Why do you think then? Matter or something? He's done Krav Maga. What are you going to give some clever answer like that?
I'm going to say Lee Grant. No one. Lee Grant, mate. He's absolute.
He is 60. He is 60.
Experience, mate. Right. That's what counts in fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah? Anyway, we're going to talk about Paul Pogba, why not? Christian Pulisic as well, we're going to talk about him, bizarrely, because this has sort of come out of left field, but United have been put on alert about the fact he could be available. Diogo Dalot, who we're going to be facing, bizarrely, again, tomorrow, he's going to be playing against his team, which is us, obviously. Kalidou Koulibaly, you like him, don't you?
Yeah, I love him.
We're going to be talking about him. Also, David De Gea and the potential of a new goalkeeper coming in. We've all been looking at the sort of Dean Henderson, David De Gea situation, but United apparently interested in other goalkeepers as well. And we'll have a little bit of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, what he was saying today. As this is a live show, get involved in the comments. I can see some of you already are. Have.
Haaland.
We appreciate that. And hit like as well. Give us a like and get involved in the comments. So we'll start off with the director of football.
Start as we mean to go on, Jeff.
Start as we mean to go on a positive note. It seems that, yes, Manchester United have gone and appointed John Mercury, I think people in the comments today were saying when I did the live breaking news about this, as football director. He's been at the club since the David Moyes era, but, you know, don't let that put you off.
Good start.
I know.
Also known as the Ed Woodward era.
Yes, by certain journalists it is known as the Ed Woodward era. He's been here in a different role. He's now been promoted to football director. As well, Darren Fletcher's been promoted, I think, to technical director.
Yep.
So you've got this sort of new setup in terms of the coaching, managerial and the transfer staff, or whatever you want to call it. You can see them there from the graphic, the way it's all gone down. Football director, and obviously Darren Fletcher, who's been at the club and has just recently been promoted to the coaching staff. So the first team coaching staff has now had another promotion to technical director. Initial thoughts on this one, Joseph?
You've sort of gone over some of the main bullet points. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Like you said there, they're the headlines of it. We're very happy to announce this. This person will oversee this. Matt Judge will now have this title. This will do this. Fletcher's still doing his coaching. For me, nothing's changed, really. Basically, to me, this seems like a cop-out. Like, we said we'd get a technical director 3.5 years ago. We said we'd get one, and you know what we're going to do instead is just hire someone that was already working in roughly the same role, but for more money and with a Facebook post. That's basically all that's happened here. When you think of like how this club's going to move forward, the new ideas, let's get a technical director in who's done this job at other places, who's done it before at the highest level, who's managed and done this at big teams, not someone who's already been doing essentially the same job at Manchester United during the club's worst period in 30 years. And I'm not saying he's no good at his job, and hopefully he'll have been given extra duties, promotion, and maybe he's a great ideas man who's not been given enough platform to put those ideas across. But seemingly, he's been doing a similar job already for 7 years. So what's he going to do now that he wasn't doing before? And you just think like, we've already had these people in here. Darren Fletcher only came in 6 or so months ago, so maybe he's not yet sort of revealed his capabilities or has only just been given a chance to do that. So maybe, Fletcher's got some sort of identity and something he can bring to the club. I'm optimistic of that. But this other guy, you just think, well, what else has he been doing? Like, Woodward's still going to be doing what he's doing. Matt Judge has got a new name. He's now head of negotiations or whatever it is. Basically, the same job he was doing before, just a slightly more fitting title. To me, it just seems as business as usual. And instead of getting someone else in who's done it somewhere else, we'll get someone in who was already doing the same thing at Manchester United, but for the last 7 years, when, oh yeah, we've been shit. And I'm not saying he's no good, again. I don't want to slander someone I don't know that much about. But to me, it's about as underwhelming a version of a technical director or director of football we could have possibly asked for. And I hope Darren Fletcher can bring some good ideas, and I'm sure he will. But the rest of it just seems like we should probably say we've got a technical director. It's been 3 years. Yeah, just give it that guy who's already doing it. I'm sick of it. And the Darren Fletcher role, as far as I'm aware, was offered to Patrice Evra and Rio Ferdinand 2 years ago. Or they both come out and spoke about meetings with Ed Woodward, and there was rumours in the newspapers that they were offered some sort of sporting director role, but wouldn't really have anything to do with transfer say or anything like that. You're basically a PR frontman that can do a Twitter video when United signed 3 loan players and a £40 million player from Holland, like we did this summer. I just think Fletcher's basically put himself in a position to be hung out to dry whenever we make mistakes because he's the face of the thing going on, and the rest of it's just business as usual. I just couldn't be more underwhelmed by it.
Your whelm.
Sorry,
Your
Jay.
whelm is definitely under. No, it's fine, mate. Don't apologise at all. I get where you're coming from. As David Brent once said, nothing ever changes by staying the same.
Yeah.
Quite literally. Ross Murphy in the chat says, evening, Joe and Jay.
Morning.
Jay, you've been live in the morning, afternoon, now the evening. You deserve a well-earned Pepsi Max cherry.
Well, he's got one.
Thank you. Don't worry, Ross. I've got one here. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I did the live today, as Ross has just pointed out, where this news broke. And, first I was a little bit excited because it's like, technical director of director of football. Darren Fletcher's getting a promotion. Love Darren Fletcher. What seals, sort of move with the times. And this sounds like a sort of a step forward. But I can get why some people, not just Joe, but other people who in the comments today, and some of you in the comments now, do have certain reservations. Just a little bit of background on John Mercury. People don't know a lot about him. I didn't until today. I had to Google him because we were chatting and it was like, this has happened. He's been appointed. My next question was, who the fucking hell is it? And you sort of filled me in a little bit. But he was a sports scientist at Everton under former Manchester United manager David Moyes. He worked his way up to become their head of performance before leaving in 2012 to become head of elite performance at the Premier League. In 2013, he came back to Old Trafford as head of football development. All very grandiose titles, these, aren't they? He became a close confidant.
But head of football development, that's what the players would do as well, isn't it? Develop, the football. Like the coach does that as well. Like head of football development.
It does
the head of the whole club then.
What when someone asks you, what do you do? I'm the head of football development.
Head of football development.
I'm the regional supervisor for intersectional football.
Oh, cool.
Stuff.
Football development is the only thing a football team does, by the way. It's in theory anyway.
He was given that title, head of football development, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
He then became, according to the Mirror, a close confidant of Ed Woodward, having helped put the pathway in place, which has produced Scott McTominay, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, and other top talents.
Yeah, can you remember when we didn't used to have an academy in the early 2000s? That was lucky they put that
It's
in
a bit
place,
of a
wasn't
stretch in it. When they say help put the pathway in place.
Yeah.
That's seen the likes of Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood and Scott McTominay get to the first team.
Marcus Rashford, who was already 15 when he was hired by Manchester United, by the way, basically 2.5 years from making his debut, which he couldn't possibly have done without this man coming in. I feel bad slagging him off because I'm not mad at him.
You're
just mad at the situation. Because all the same jobs are still being done. Yeah. It's not like all of a sudden, like when you bring new people in with new ideas, they can do jobs in different ways. They come up with new ideas, new restructuring of things where people actually go, you were doing this before, now guess what? We're all doing this radically different thing. Whereas this is just going to be, remember that job we were doing before? Well, we're doing it now, except Darren Fletcher has to announce it all for us because he's the scapegoat we've brought in.
I'm just going to briefly read the press release. I'm not going to go through it all because we'll all end up slashing our wrists. I'll sort of summarise it and then we can move on, because I'm aware we've already spoken about this extensively today, and you've pretty much summed up your reservations, which I can understand.
I didn't want to be this negative about it.
No, it's fine. We're not MUTV. We're not going to go, well, this is amazing, now we're going to win the lot. You've got to say what your truth is. My truth is, I said it, and I said it today, and I'll say it again. We will see in the summer what transfers we make. We will see this season and next season where we finish in the league and whether we win silverware. If we win silverware, then people will go, and we buy players that help us do that. People will go, tell you what, John Mercury, Darren Fletcher, love those guys. Look how they've helped Solly, fantastic. If we win nothing and are struggling and all his jobs on the line, people will go, well, Darren Fletcher and John Mercury haven't helped him, have they? They've been a disaster. That's how it works. It'll be, the proof will be in whether we win silverware or not. Not speculation now, I don't think, anyway. But it says on the press release, John will have overall leadership and responsibility for operations and strategy across all football functions, reinforcing the strong foundations already in place. Darren will work closely with John to add technical input and direction into all football and performance areas. He will focus on a coordinated and long-term approach to player and squad development, helping maintain the integral link between the academy and the first team, aligned with Manchester United values and culture. And then just one quickly, briefly on Ole. Ole will continue his role in the recruitment process, supported by extensive scouting and data analytics functions that will continue to report to John. Matt Judge will also report to John with a new title of Director of Football Negotiations. Which he's been so great
which
at
again
that sort of thing.
is what he's been doing for the last 5 years. He was already heading up all of the big main negotiations. He was already that guy. He's literally just been given a new title more befitting of the job he does, rather than being given a new job based on any expertise. I'm just completely underwhelmed by it, and I think it was a good chance to bring in someone with some outside expertise, with some contacts, with some experience of doing big deals at big clubs around the world, and we've not done that. We've not done that at all.
No, we haven't, and I get why when you look at it, you can be a little bit unimpressed with it all. Like I said earlier today, and like I've been saying, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. If we get success, then people will give him credit, and if we don't, he'll get the blame. That's how it's going to work. Maybe it's a clever move by Ed Woodward and Matt Judge. It's give them a bit of a buffer, because people are going to be pointing fingers at someone else other than those two. Who knows? We'll wait and see. We'll move on, shall we? We've spoken about enough about that today. Edinson Cavani. Now, this sort of came a little bit out of nowhere, didn't it, earlier this week? I think, was it his dad? Was sort of...
Well, it started before that. I saw there were rumours before that about him wanting to go back to Boca Juniors, and then it came out that his dad was the one saying that he'd love to go back. He's not happy where he is. He's been thinking about this for a couple of years now. He wants to come back, and he wants to come back this summer. Oh, cheers. Yeah,
it says that his dad, Louis, says his son is uncomfortable at Manchester United, and he's banned for a racist remark has had a bearing. Joan Roman Riquelme is trying to bring him to Boca Juniors, and Louis says there is a 60% chance that will happen. Although you can see in the graphic there. So this has all come from his dad. But then we saw, was it an Instagram post from Cavani? A post where he's saying, he'll give his all for the shirt or whatever it was. He was a picture of him in a United shirt, sort of alluding to the fact that he's happy. I mean, the thing with Cavani, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because he's come in, he's done relatively well. I think we need to sort of be a bit more honest about what he's done, because it's like, oh, Cavani's come in and he's been amazing. He hasn't. He's done a good job. I'm not criticising him by any stretch of imagination, but he has missed a few games, both because of the ban and because of injury. He's played well in other games. He's missed a few chances in others. I think he's been decent, and I think he's been a positive signing. I'm glad we made that sign. I think we'd be a lot worse off if we didn't make it. But he should be a short-term option, and there's nothing about him, I think, that says we definitely 100% need him next season. I think we need another striker next season, but I don't know whether that's Edinson Cavani or someone else. We definitely need another striker, even if Cavani stays. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did move on this summer. I mean, it sounds to me a little bit like it was a late deal, he's coming in short term, and then he'll move on. But now people, when he scored a few goals, were like, oh, shall we extend his deal, keep him another season? I mean, where do you stand? Do you want to see him leaving the summer, or do you want to see him staying for another year?
I want him to want to stay. It's almost like a rejection thing, isn't it? I don't want him to be like, oh, fuck this, I'm going, it's shit here. I don't want him to think that about playing for Man United, to be honest. Not that it's, it's not the end of the world for me if he does. And we've had plenty of players not want to be here before, but I like the idea that players who play for Man United are enjoying playing for Man United, and this suggests that he isn't. And especially when he's fit, he's our main striker. No. Like, he's the starting number 9 for Man United, and he's fucking sick of it. I'd rather take a wage cut than deal with this shit for another year. half my wages by about 50%, which is what half is, or about 60% sure he's going to move back to Boca Juniors. I love it when people pull up stats that are based on opinion. I think there's about a 60% chance I'll move back.
But there's only a 40% chance of that being true.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's that mean? 60 is it? Because it's not 50-50. He's just probably 10% more than 50-50. I mean, no one even knows what 50-50 means in terms of someone making a life decision. Who knows what he'll do? But he's about 6. I reckon 60% he'll move back. What does that mean? What does 60% feel like over 55? How have you come up with that? Anyway, I don't want him to not want to play for United, but I think we will recover and we will be able to exist and flourish without Edinson Cavani. We just need to replace him, and that's easier said than done, isn't it? Because 2 transfers now, Ole has clearly wanted a new striker. And in those 2 transfers, we got Igalo, who was the short-term of short-term signings, and Cavani, who was also seen as another short-term signing. So it's clear that he's not being backed properly, is it? When you're signing strikers on 1-year deals and 6-month deals, 2 transfer windows back-to-back, and we're supposed to believe that he's happy with who he's signed. Do you think Ole wants 18 months worth of stopgaps?
No.
What the fuck is that? Like, United need to sort it out. And someone said there about I'm underwhelmed by those the change of roles of people because I don't understand the roles. What I do understand is it is essentially the same people doing the same jobs, because we've all got the same thing in mind, that we want Man United to win, they want Man United to make money. That's what they want to do. Yeah. They haven't changed what they want. They're still the same people, and they're presumably still trying to sign players, still trying to make money. So it's stuff like this that annoys me, because not because he wants to leave, but because for 18 months now, Ole's not been able to get a player he wants because we won't buy it for him. And I just worry that he'll leave and we'll get another stopgap in that doesn't happen to be one of the best strikers of the last decade. So that's my only concern. But if he wants to go, then fair enough.
Hit like, give us a like. We've got 79 likes and almost 900 watching. Come on, hit that like button. I'll get into some of the comments. Someone was saying, Jay, what's our number 8's name? Lol. Matt. Ross Murphy says, hopefully Cavani plays in the game where fans can have 10,000 Old Trafford. This is a good point. Might not even see Cavani in the flesh. James says, Jay, I beg you find me an away Paddock tee. I'll pay double. I don't have anything to do with Paddock, but if you look on the site, there might be some available over on the other channel. Disciple of Ollie says, Ollie's success is being proven far beyond the pitch. The thing with what's gone on with sort of the whole director and technical director stuff as well, a lot of it was emphasising on the academy. The academy's doing well. But again, you are sort of talking about these people have already been there, and the academy's been sort of doing what it's been doing for the last few years. I don't think that's going to change anything. A lot of people sort of saying get Haaland, and someone, Georgie B, said Ed's still a wolf in banker's clothing. Yeah, he could have said a different word to banker, but yeah.
Frank McNeil says, Joe, is the Sage jacket working? I assume he's talking about your Sage jacket there. He's asking for my opinion on that. I think it's working, yeah. I think it goes with your, neck. Whatever they say.
You know who's got a dead smile, mate?
Who?
Gladstone smile.
Don't talk about him. I asked Jay to name a cricketer earlier, thinking he'd, Stuart Broad, Murray Lythram, Shane Warne. Gladstone Small, he said, a lad who played 17 Tests for England 30 years ago.
I don't watch cricket, right? You put me on the spot,
popping your head.
And that's what I came up with. Con1WS says, Jay, you've had a hoodie on all day, you won't feel the benefit. Don't worry, I've got my big thick parka when I get outside.
Good luck.
CBeasy says, I don't rate Cavani that much. I feel results when Martial plays compared to when Cavani plays seem to suggest to me Cavani's movement off the ball doesn't work in our team. I think that's a little bit harsh, do you think? Or do you think that's a fair assumption?
I think it's a bit harsh, because when you think of who we've played and the results we've had, there's no one who can watch Manchester United this season and think that Tony Marshall's been as good as Cavani. Personally, I think there's been a couple of games where he's been good, Tony Marshall, maybe a handful of games where he's been good. But generally speaking, Cavani looks sharper, he looks more likely to get goals, he's got a much better goal per minute ratio, for example. His goals per 90 is much higher than Martial's. And to suggest that it's kind of, apples and oranges or, whatever, I don't know what the term is. split the difference between the two.
All right, okay.
I think he's slightly wider the mark. I think Cavani's been much better, and I do think the way he plays suits the team certainly more than the way Martial's playing this season. I don't think he's the perfect player, but I think he's proven himself to be more effective than Martial.
It's just a shame because there's elements of Martial I like and there's elements of Cavani I like, and I think if you could somehow combine the two, we'd have the ideal striker. Do you know what I mean? Cavani's got that predatory instinct around the 6-yard box. He's always looking to get on the end of things. Martial's quite good, sort of bit deeper, can carry the ball nicely, bring his players in around him. Pacey. Cavani's got a fantastic work ethic. He's always running down the channels, harrying defenders, loves a bit to get involved with the high press. To get them two together as one player would be perfect, but you can't do that. So maybe you need to go out and buy a player that is like that, that's got all of those things, rather than, as you keep saying and you point out, have a stopgap.
Yeah.
Because we are stopgap FC at the minute. One player who may fit the bill slightly.
Who does kind of combine a lot of those things.
Yes, and a lot more as well.
Yes.
Is
Aaron.
Wan-Bissaka.
No.
No, it's not. It's Erling Haaland.
Oh, yes. There he is.
Yeah, United, as you well know, have been linked with Erling Haaland for about, well, not even like 2 years. It's about 3 in it. It's when he was over in Norway. We were first linked with him, not longer than 3 years, about 4 years or something stupid. There was that story that came out a couple of weeks ago that we actually almost bought him when he was at Molde, but we got the time difference wrong when we made the phone call, or something equally as professional at Manchester United Football Club. But, now we've got John Mercury here.
But now Matt Judge is called head of, what's it called?
Negotiation, transfer negotiation. We'll get the time difference right.
Yeah.
So we'll make those phone calls. Ole has been speaking about Haaland. He's quite vocal, isn't he, Ole, when it comes to Haaland? He talks about him a lot. He doesn't say, like, I'm going to go and buy him this summer or anything dramatic, but he does like to, when he gets asked a question, he's not shy of speaking about a player who obviously plays for someone else. Sometimes managers are a bit like, I'm not going to talk about him. He's a great player, but he's, he plays for Dortmund and, he's off limits or whatever. He'll be quite, open about the fact that he admires him, he likes him, that he's spoken to him, that he's speaking to him.
He plays for Dortmund for now, but afterwards, who knows?
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. I mean, he was asked about him in the press conference. He said, not many more superlatives to use. Whatever I say, I will say in Norwegian directly to him. Hopefully he'll say Norwegian, sign on this dotted line, and Haaland will say, no worries, and come and play for Manchester United. That would be mint. You can see here, you can see the graphic there, that's what's been said. I mean, this is going to rumble on. We know that Haaland is wanted by, I think, Manchester City. I think Chelsea have been looking at him. The Scousers have been looking at him. Even Bayern Munich. There was that little thing, wasn't there, with Hansi Flick, where he was
I think I said this to you last week, didn't I, Jake?
Oh, I've set you off here now, Anna, but go on.
I
don't mean that in a bad way.
Isn't it just so obvious that he's going to go to Bayern Munich? And he's not even been linked with Bayern Munich that much. Not in England anyway, maybe because we're in England we don't see it. But like, he's been linked with City a lot, he's been linked with United a lot, he's been linked with Chelsea a decent amount. But he's the best striker in the Bundesliga, and he happens to play for Bayern Munich feeder club Borussia Dortmund. And Lewandowski's 32. And we might need the best striker in the world for the next 10 years. How is he not? Why is not everyone just going, he's going Dortmund? Going Bayern, because it seems when you put the pieces together of the equation, all you've done is, if you team who plays for Bayern Munich, buy everyone off them. Bayern Munich could do with a striker probably in the next year or two because their striker is the best striker in the world, but he's getting on a bit. It seems perfect that it would go to Bayern Munich. The only part of that equation that is missing is media speculation. But other than that, it's all there. I've got a feeling that United want him, and I think Ole will approach him. Even this week, in the last couple of days, to add to the comment we've got there, James Ducker, who's sports writer of the Telegraph, football writer of the Telegraph, a lot of you will know him, very highly respected journalist. He was saying that Erling Haaland is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's dream target this summer. So basically confirming what we've known for a while. Ole wants Haaland, and Ole will try to get him this summer. But everyone knows that. But to me, it just seems like surely Bayern must be the favourites.
I get where you're coming from that, because they always buy Dortmund's best players. And German football, to me, it's become worse than Scottish football in terms of monopoly, because at least Rangers won the league this season, didn't they? Which stopped Celtic doing 10 in a row.
Yeah.
So there's a slight conversation there. What's going on? It's like, it's not all open and shut. It's just one team. But in Germany, when's the last time it was someone else? 2012 was it? Was it Klopp's Dortmund?
Yeah.
When he won back-to-back titles. And then what happened then? Bayern Munich started picking that team apart. Got the best players from it.
Including Lewandowski.
Yeah, including Lewandowski, obviously got all the goals for Dortmund. And it seems that that's sort of, the way it works over in Germany. The only sort of reason I have a little bit of hope that Haaland might not end up at Bayern Munich, well, there's two reasons. One, I think that Bayern Munich have been very disparaging towards Dortmund recently. You saw it in the summer. There was sort of the chief executive, Christian Vaxka, whatever his name is, the CEO, was making comments about Dortmund being a small club and this sort of thing and the mentality. Dortmund obviously have seen Bayern Munich win the lot. There may be a thing in sort of Erling Haaland's personality or in his opinion or whatever his loyalty, where he thinks, okay, you know, I don't want to go to the arch rivals. I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to a different country. I want to try, you know, a new experience because, yes, if I stay at Bayern Munich, I'm going to win the Bundesliga, but all the Dortmund fans will hate me. And maybe he just doesn't want to stay in Germany for another few years because he's done a couple of years in there. I know, but some of these players, I mean, he's still a young lad in here. Yes. And he's already been to, 3 different countries? Yeah. So he might fancy coming to the Premier League or another country or whatever. He might not be like, spend another 4 or 5 years, whatever it is in Germany. I know I'm sort of reaching a little bit, but you don't know because he's not like he's, you know, German or he has any affiliation that I'm going to stay in Germany for the next few years. So there might be that. We'll have to wait and see. Money might be a thing where United can put together a better financial package than Bayern Munich. I don't know if that's true or not, but you never know. We might be able to. There's lots of ifs and buts and maybes. A lot of people in the comments are saying he will... Abels 2009 says Haaland is built for the Prem. He will run riot in the Prem. Matthew Thomas says City will get Haaland. Gabri Gill says depends on how much he respects Ole. Jonah Malo says people forget Haaland was close to signing for us instead of Dortmund. It was down to us too. And then Joshua Deakin says, didn't Dortmund say they wouldn't sell to Bayern anymore? They did, but you know Arsenal used to say that about, we're not going to sell anyone to United, and then they sold us Van Persie. Doesn't always mean anything. It's
strange, isn't it, that the assumption, and I agree with this is what pops into my head of like who will be successful in England when it comes to strikers is big, tall, strong strikers. When you think of all the greatest strikers in Premier League history, you look at Aguero, Rooney. I mean, Van Nistelrooy is big, but he wasn't particularly relying on his strength and his speed by any means. Andy Cole, Ronaldo, Henry. Not many of those are big, strong guys. They're generally small and tricky or tall and tricky.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Shearer, I suppose, is a standout. He's a big, strong guy. I guess, you know, that makes sense. But
he straddles both eras, though, doesn't he, Shearer?
He does, yeah.
Because he was a Division 1 player pre-Premier League, and that's where he made his name when everyone wanted him, including Man United. Yeah. And then, obviously, became the Premier League's most prolific goal scorer. So you're right, but it's like he was a sort of throwback to that Division 1 era of your sort of Mick Hartford, Dion Dublin type players who were just big and strong and would get their heads on things. And also, obviously, he was an exceptional finisher. But I get where you're coming from when you list it. Yeah. Van Nistelrooy, I don't consider Van Nistelrooy that big, strong type striker.
I know he's like 6'2", but he never relied on his strength or his pace. He was just an incredible finisher. And even someone like Van Persie relied more on his finishing and his touch than he did his strength or any sort of size.
No, I agree completely. That's a good point. Do you see that though with Haaland? Is he he's not just a big strong striker.
No, he's not.
He's got a little bit of everything, hasn't he, really? I mean, talk about finishing. He's an exceptional finisher from all sorts of positions. He's obviously got bags of pace as well. He's got it all really. That's a great comment there by Stretford Paddock, producer Cam. Can we hit 800 likes? Give us a like. Hit that like button. Someone here saying Ian Greenhouse says Howson was right. Aguero on a free would be good. Yeah,
it's another stopgap. I don't want it. It's another stopgap. Can we try and buy someone that's going to be here for 3 years? I mean, I'm not even saying 5. Just give us 3 years.
Anish Joshi says, we'll get Danny Ings, stopgap FC. Yeah. It does feel like that, though. Not that we'll get Danny Ings, but that we are becoming like that. Like you say, Igalo, massive stopgap. And then Edinson Cavani is beginning to feel like a stopgap.
Because we spent so much money on Lukaku, and I know we got most of that back from Inter, or what was it, 75, and we got 65 for him. But maybe they've splashed the most they've ever splashed on a striker. Didn't quite work. 2 years out of him, even though he got goals in that time, you couldn't say Lukaku was a great success at United. Maybe they're sort of thinking, we've got to make sure it's perfect because otherwise we're going to get stung again. But they didn't really get stung. They got most of the money back. I don't know. I don't know why they keep doing this. It's like, again, with someone of his age, even if we bought Haaland 100 million, whatever we pay for him, in 3 years, even if he's only all right, you're still getting 70, 80 for him. Yeah. We're not, unless he, gets ran over, we're going to get most of the money back for him that we pay for him, even if we have to sell him in a couple of years. That's the thing when people talk about, Sancho, is he worth this? Is he worth 100 million? It's maybe not, but even if he's a terrible flop, we know he's of enough quality that you'd get at least 50 or 60 back for him. Like Di Maria, we bought him for 65, whatever it was, or 54, sold him for 45. We lost about 9 million quid on Di Maria. It's like, we're not going to just sell these players for £0 because they're shit for 2 years. I just think the risk is nowhere near as high as people make out, and certainly the club would have us believe. Like, sell them if they're shit, and you'll get most of your money back. Because he's a world star already.
It still annoys me we didn't get him when we could have done from Dortmund before Dortmund did. Because there was this thing about when the buyout clause, sorry. And we were reluctant to do that because it would have meant Mino Raiola getting a load of money and all this other stuff. But if we'd have had Erling Haaland this season, we'd have had a title challenge and a proper title challenge, and we could have won the title. And then he moves on, but we still have a Premier League title. Just like we did with Van Persie, would anyone have moaned? Does anyone moan about that?
No.
That we only got one good season out of Robin Van Persie.
And he's someone who we did lose 30 million.
Yeah, and no one goes, well, tell you what, I wish we'd have had that 30 million quid instead of the bloody title we won.
No.
And I think that we missed a trick there because if we don't get him now, we'll just we never had Erling Haaland. Well, at least we could have had him for 1 or 2 seasons or whatever. So yeah, it is a little bit frustrating. People asking about Pau Torres. We're going to get on to him a little bit. People agreeing with you about what you're saying about Lukaku and stuff.
Yeah.
Rune Bugan says that hair is just getting longer by the day.
That's how hair works, unless it's Jay's and he trims it and shaves it and flushes it down the toilet every day.
Well, I'd give to have a long hair probably.
It's lockdown, I need it cutting. I'm going to get cut about that. Oh, can you believe it?
Oh, this is a good one.
8
good
inches
comment.
off.
Anish Joshi says, we'll promote Hugh Gill and McNeil instead of getting an experienced striker.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I love both of those players and they're absolutely tearing it to bits, prolific goal scorers at a young level. But as we've seen with Mason Greenwood, you can't rely on these kids yet. He came in last season, scored 19 goals. Everyone thought, next season, myself included, he's going to bang him in. Tailed off a lot this season, and that happens with young players. I'd hate to see us throwing in the likes of Hugh Gill and McNeil before they're ready.
And it's so hard to bring strikers through. When's the last time United had a youth product striker that came through and had a career at United? Like, even, not just were incredible, played at United for 5, 10, Welbeck, I guess, but it was never first choice. It's so hard to do.
The one that had a career was Mark Hughes.
Yeah, and that was
95
years ago.
Yeah, and even he went to Barcelona and came back. Barca buying him back.
It's so hard to bring a striker through, and the idea that
I know we've got Rashford before anyone says
McNeil and Hugo. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But he's the closest we've had, but he's not. He's a winger.
No, that's why.
It's so hard to do.
Because you look at it as well. We've had some fantastic players at youth level. Will Keane was brilliant. But injuries got to him. James Wilson was amazing.
Was insane.
Yeah. You watched him and then he had his debut and scores a couple of goals and you think, yes, this is us. Makeda, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Banging him in for fun at academy level. Banged him in when he got to the first team for a few games and then just fell off a cliff. It happens. Yeah. Siren Bala says, hope you lads are doing all right. Jay, you ever get Steve to tell you who he was talking about when he said we inquired about a striker in the Prem? Haha. Yes. He did. I'll let you guys work.
I wish you'd just tell everyone, don't you?
Yeah.
So apparently United have inquired about a striker in the Premier League. We know who Steve says it is.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to say, which is so frustrating.
It is. I mean, to be honest with you, if I told you, it'd be like the least surprising thing ever. You go, all right, okay. But just pester Howson. You know where to find him. Just give him start mithering him. Ross Murphy says Welbeck, don't forget him. Joe mentioned Welbeck. Yeah. Love Danny Welbeck. Would happily have him back for the next stopgap striker.
Fuck off. He's one of the reasons why Brighton are on the cusp of relegation, despite being the 5th best team in England. Have you seen the stats, Jay? They've got the 5th highest expected points in football, and they're going to get relegated because they can't score.
Oh, mate,
God.
That penalty the other week by Danny Welbeck.
They've missed about 40 this season.
Where he took it, hit the post, came back, hit his leg, and then went out for a goal kick. Was absolutely genius. If we did get Danny Welbeck, I'd be absolutely insufferable. I still love Danny Welbeck. I still believe in him. Give him a bit more time. Jojo B says Josh King. Yeah, we were linked with him when we got a gala, weren't we? He's gone to Everton, hasn't he? After not scoring in the Championship for Bournemouth for 16 games. Everton have took a punt on him. I don't think he's exactly tearing up trees there. Rich Allen says, if you could change one outcome of a game in United's history, which game would it be? It's the 6-1.
Is it?
If one game in United's history,
I'd take another Champions
Oh,
League
yeah,
for Fergie's
actually,
legacy.
yeah,
beat
no, you're
beat
right.
that Barca team
Yeah,
in 2009, so we were the first ever team to win Champions League back-to-back.
Can I change my answer? I'll go with
Yes.
that then. I was letting my,
Imagine if we'd have
my
done,
bitterness get the better
if
of
we'd
me.
have done 2 Champions League, Premier League doubles in a row, and the first team to win it back-to-back, yeah, that one. And then they can have the 2011 one, I don't give a shit. Ronaldo wins 2 Champions Leagues back-to-back. Come on.
Robson Reed, welcome to the academy.
Good though, because we would have won the league, so it's not like you know, it's
it was just that was my go-to thing
Yeah.
straight away there. I was like, 6-1, but no, you make a good point. Should we move on to something else?
Yes.
We've had enough of Erling Haaland, and will he or will he not come to Manchester United? And we've only got another 4 months of it, so, you know.
But we'll keep you updated. Any updates, any changes, any assessments or further news, we'll be keeping you right up to date with all
You
of
can
that.
keep us updated. If you see him shopping in Asda,
Yeah.
let us know.
If you see him in the Arndale, if you see him in Weast.
But remember, he might have a mask on, he might look different.
Yeah.
So just if you see anyone that looks like it could be Erling Haaland,
Tall,
let us know.
blonde.
Yeah. He might be crouching down though, so maybe someone who's small, blonde. He might dye his hair or wear a wig. So anyone who's any height with hair, let us know.
Yeah. That's a good point, yeah.
And we'll keep everyone else updated as well. Right backs.
Yeah.
We've spoken about these quite a lot during our
Told you
lifetimes.
about this.
You have told me about this. You did. And I didn't listen, did I?
You didn't listen.
I didn't listen
now look
to
what's
you.
happened.
And now look, I'm
Same.
here with egg on my face again. You were right. United apparently looking at another right back, as you can see there from the graphic. MUFC are looking for a right back this summer to provide competition for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's from Fabrizio Romano, who is pretty trustworthy when it comes to this sort of thing.
He's a trustworthy fella, isn't he?
He's tier 1 apparently.
Good
He
lad.
wants to be. He's been on the tier 1 podcast enough. Do you think this is true? Do
Yeah.
you think it's necessary?
Yeah.
Well, so you hate Brandon Williams then?
What? Brandon Williams, who's played left back for Man United almost every single
So
time.
you
he's
hate
played
Ethan
for-
Laird?
No. Say I'm scared.
No, you're right. Brandon Williams has played left back most times. Also, we don't know how ready he is for the first team. It looks like United have been interested in players like Kieran Trippier, for example, Max Aarons as well. Was that another one that we were looking at? Who was originally a target when we first bought Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So we're looking at players that can literally come in and are first team ready rather than might be ready in 1 or 2 seasons.
Kieran Trippier was sort of the safe bet, wasn't he? No pun intended on his band there.
Nicely done, yes.
And Max Aarons would obviously be a slightly younger option. I think United could do with a not necessarily young, an attacking fullback that can take the place of Wan-Bissaka in certain games. Like, look at what Tellers does for Luke Shaw. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm sure Tellers came here thinking he might get a few more games than he's had. But I think a solid, good second right back that offers more going forward than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think they'd get pretty much 20 games a season, to be honest.
Do you know what? As well.
Excuse
me. People forget this. Like, it's such a tiring job, up and down that flank constantly all game, and it makes such a difference when you can have like 1 game in 4 off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you've seen the advantages that Luke Shaw's had. I don't even think it's necessarily just competition. I think it's the fact that he can have a bit of a breather because Ollie's rotating a little bit more, and I think that helps as well. I mean, yeah, the competition might be another added factor, but just being able to rotate helps because we got into this thing, you know, like it was like Tony Valencia just up and down the right side for seasons.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, you don't need to worry about it. You'll play every game.
So you can be our right back and our right winger.
Yeah,
if
it's
you
just
want.
like that right side. That's just
You've
you.
got big thighs,
Yeah.
so you could probably just do everything for 5 years.
Most, mortals aren't like that. They need a bit of a breather. We've seen it with Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. Sometimes he has, like every now and again, he has a bit of a dodgy game, doesn't he? And I like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but he does. You know, you go, what's going on with him? And it's not that he's a bad player. So you have to wonder, is that fatigue? Is it mental fatigue with everything that's going on as well? And I think if someone was to come in and you're able to rotate them, and it's more than just a youngster who's coming in once every 6 months or whatever, every 2 months or whatever, then that could be the answer. So it makes sense. Max Aarons is someone we've both rated, haven't we? Both raved
I
about
think he's
a
a
little
good
bit.
player. I didn't see too much of him for Norwich, but assuming he's still at Norwich, isn't he? He's about to be in the Premier League again next season, so if we don't sign him this summer, we're going to probably see 38 games of him again next year because they're right back up. So I like him. You know, I'd be happy to take someone like that. Again, you know, Kieran Trippier to me would make sense. What is he, 30 years old, 31 years old? He's good from set pieces, good dead ball specialist. He's also good at crossing the ball. He's not necessarily the best defender in the world, but against, for instance, you know, I was going to say Sheffield United at home, but that's a terrible reference because we lost them this year. But you know what I mean? Those sorts of games, Watford in the Cup, the second leg against Sociedad, I mean, we all know the sorts of games we play in terms of a rotation. But even in some games like maybe Crystal Palace that we just played, would having someone that can put the ball in from a bit deeper, find a pass down the line that's a bit more accurate, would having someone like that in those sorts of games give us a better chance of scoring a goal? I think it probably would. We've seen Luke Shaw get 5 assists from left back this season. If we had another 5 assists from right back, we might have 6 more points. And I'm not having a go at Wan-Bissaka. I think he's one of the best right backs in the league, but that's not what he's good at. And in a lot of games, we need Wan-Bissaka, but I think in plenty of other games, we could do with someone who can bring the ball in. And as Caller Alan says there, Ethan Laird may well be the perfect person to do that. Again, the problem is, as we've seen with Eric Bailly, for example, when you're only fit for 15 games a season, it's difficult to rely on you, and they have to be the right 15 games. So I'd love someone to come in. I think offering some competition in every position is something that United needs. Whether that's Ethan Laird or someone else, who knows?
Ethan Laird, yeah, he's doing quite well at is it MK Dons, is that?
Yeah.
He's the main thing with Ethan Laird isn't about his ability, it's his injuries, as Joe said. He's had a terrible time of it with injuries as a youngster. And when you're sort of 17, 18, you're picking up these injuries, it can be very difficult for you to recover long term. Hopefully, he'll get a run of games on his low move and come back and be in the conversation, because I rate Ethan Laird. He's a fantastic player. And as Joe said, you know, Brandon Williams is right-footed, but you move over to the left because it's like you've got Ethan Laird and Brandon Williams.
Ethan Laird's been basically playing right wing for MK Dons as well, so he's brilliant going forward.
Yeah, he is, so I'd love to see that happen. A few people, someone in the comments, forgive me, I can't remember who it was saying about Tariq Lamptey, the lad at Brighton. Maybe, I don't know though. I think that there's a couple of questions there, because it's like, I know he's had a couple of injuries. I don't think he's injury prone by any stretch of imagination, but I imagine when he moves on from there, he'll want to go somewhere where he's going to be first choice. I don't know if that's going to happen for him if he comes to Manchester United. It would be a very good sort of option though. Someone else in the comments as well, forgive me, they've just sped past me, but someone was bringing up the fact that it looks like, or they feel that Max Aarons could go to Everton. He's mates with Ben Godfrey and who is it that there's right back? It's not Seamus Coleman, is it? Yeah, Seamus Coleman. Yeah, that he's getting on a bit. Also, people asking about Diogo Dalot. What's going on with him and Milan? It looks like, I think Ross Murphy was in the chat saying that it looks like he could be going to Milan on a permanent deal. Been a bit of a mixed bag for him in Milan. He's played about 10 games, I think about 4 of them as sub, is it, and 6 starts. Got a little bit of stick from the Italian press when they got beat. Was it Spezia? They got beat off, and he was like the whipping boy for that one. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we're going to get to see him firsthand tomorrow night when we play Milan, because I think he'll start that game. They're having a decent season. I think he's been decent enough for them. Doesn't look like he's got a future at Old Trafford. And I didn't feel that loan move was a loan move. Go and prove yourself and come back and get in the first team. I think it was a case of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just doesn't really fancy him, which is a bit disappointing in a way, because I quite like Diogo Dalot, but I can understand where Ole's coming from. From one sort of story that makes sense to another one that is a little bit less likely, if I'm being brutally honest. Christian Pulisic.
Oh, yes.
The American.
The young American man.
The young American man.
As a
Chelsea.
half American myself, Jay, I'll take the lead.
Yes,
with this
go
one.
on. You talk
we all
us through
sort
this.
of know each other.
Do you know him? Are you related?
Yeah.
I know, like, you Americans.
Yeah, it's all sort of same thing, isn't it? There's only 330 million of them, whatever it is. We kind of, and then the half American, so you sort of divide that again.
If anyone bumps into him that you know, get him to talk to him.
I'll speak to him. I'll text him. We're in the group chat.
Yeah.
It just says USA at the top 3 times with a fist and a chant little thing.
I met an American once on holiday.
Yeah.
Right? And no word of a lie, he said to me, we were chatting, it was years ago.
Do the accent.
He said, hey, what's happening? Where are you from? And we were chatting, I went, I'm from Manchester.
Where's he from?
He's from Compton. And he went...
First place thought.
And he went, you're from where? Manchester. He went, holy shit, I was just chatting to a girl from Manchester. Her name's Mandy, you probably know her.
Yes,
that's Mandy. It's my sister.
Is it? Yeah, so...
Americans.
Tell us the story, what's going on with Christian Pulisic.
Christian Pulisic, well, apparently he's, United have been put on alert because he's ready to quit, according to such esteemed publications as TalkSport.
You've got to get through with that laughing, Jay. This is serious news.
It's TalkSport, which already puts me off. And then the top of the line, in the TalkSport headline, it says, rumoured. which is just like saying, you may as well say, this is not going to fucking happen.
Written on a toilet wall.
Yeah, in excrement.
Yeah.
I've just seen that Pulisic is going to leave Chelsea for Manchester United, and now we've made a news story about it.
But Pulisic was spelt P-double-O on this occasion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is started in the Mail, that equally reliable publication, somewhat more reliable though than TalkSport, and it says the USA international is yet to start a match under new manager Thomas Tuchel, and it is suggested he could leave the club if there isn't an improvement in playing time soon. I mean, Pulisic leaving Chelsea for me isn't the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. It could happen, and if Thomas Tuchel doesn't fancy him, you can understand why. Coming to United though, do you see that one happening?
I don't think. I mean, to quote Cavani's father, I'd say there's at least a 60% chance this one doesn't happen.
Right, okay.
And probably more like 80, 90% chance it doesn't happen. I think he's a decent player. He had a spell of form, I think it was at the end of last season, correct me if I'm wrong, Cam, where he was like fantastic. He got like 6 goals in 8 games. He looked brilliant for them.
Didn't he score an hat-trick against the Scousers?
I'm not certain about that. Maybe
Right,
he did,
okay.
maybe he didn't. But he looked really good anyway, and really dangerous, and he was actually getting goals and finally sort of having an end product, because he's always been a decent dribbler, sort of tidy player, good work ethic, but not always had the final product. He looked really good, but this season he's not quite done it. He's fallen out of favour. He's always kind of struggled to get in the team. Even under Lampard, he wasn't like first name on the team sheet by any means. So he's gone from being kind of picked sometimes and then often injured as well, to now being not picked at all. He's a little bit injury prone. He's good on the ball, like I said, but I don't think it will happen. And I'm not sure that it would be the right player. Again, the injuries worry me, and a lot of people in the comments seem to be saying the same thing. The injuries are something that I don't, as much as possible, I think we should avoid players who are injury prone. Obviously, certain circumstances mean that you go for him anyway, or they're so good you take that risk. But he's going to cost us, what was he, 65 million, I think he cost Chelsea, 60 million, something like that.
Yeah, he's not cheap, is he? He's going to
cost us for the best part of 40 or 50. So for that kind of money, I think there's probably someone better out there.
Yeah,
he's a good player though. I do like him.
He is a good player. Potentially could solve a few problems as well. Can he play on the right?
He can play on the right. Yeah, he can play on the right or the left, I think.
There you go, which is obviously an area where we need someone. But like you say, you're going to get your pants pulled down buying someone from not just from the Premier League, but from one of our Premier League rivals who are ridiculously rich. So they're not going to be like, oh yes, we need to sell him because we need the money. So it seems a potential transfer fraught with problems. Can't see it happening. If by some miracle it did, though, I wouldn't be complaining because he's a good player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd file that one under extremely unlikely, and that's why it's tagged as rumoured on TalkSport. One thing that isn't unlikely is Paul Pogba's future's in doubt, because every week we have another Paul Pogba story and what's happening and is he going to go? Is he going to stay? I mean, me and you've sort of given up on the idea, haven't we, that he's going to stay past the summer? Yeah. Is that safe to say?
The weird thing with this is, I know obviously the transfer isn't going to happen maybe the first day the window opens, but there's 2 months left of the season. Yeah. And we still don't know whether he's staying. And it's like his agent came out and said what he said a couple of months ago. He's also now been injured for over a month when the initial report was a few weeks, which, I guess 4 is a few, but in my head a few weeks is, we should, 4 weeks later, and there's no update, he's just definitely out. No return to training, no stepping up his rehabilitation, no integrating back into the team. Like you see these sort of catchphrase tones that it's just, stepping up his rehabilitation. What does that mean? None of that. And I'm not suggesting, and I sort of talked about this in the preview a little bit earlier, I'm not suggesting that he's pretending to be injured. I just think if he's out for another 2 or 3 weeks, which wouldn't surprise me, and then he goes in the summer, we might have about 4 games of Paul Pogba left. And that saddens me a bit. I just think we need to know what's going on with him, because there was reports last week from Andy Mitten saying that he's willing to sign a new deal, which, if Andy Mitten's saying it, I've got no reason to doubt it. But where is not the evidence of this, where is the sort of the fruit of this? Because, I'm not so sure. MEN apparently saying that an expected return date of the 21st of March. That would mean he's been out for 6 weeks, sorry. That's a long time, isn't it, really, for an injury that we're still not really even certain what it is, some sort of upper leg injury. I want him to come back. I want him to play for us, and I think we do need some sort of clarification on what's going on with him, because we're entering that danger year of his contract where basically if he starts next season without signing a new deal, he's leaving for free the year after, because unless we sign some last second contract with him, he's probably going to go. So if he comes back on the 21st of March, let's say that's a bit late, start of April, like I said, we might get 6 games out of him.
Yeah, it's the big worry I've always had with Paul Pogba. I'm not one of these that has particularly questioned his attitude or his value to the team. One thing I've questioned is his injury record. Yeah. Because especially over the last sort of 18 months, if you remember the time when we had we finished second to City, he missed a chunk of the season then, or some important games of the season. He missed a massive chunk of the season last season. Obviously, he came back, and it sort of helped us that we had lockdown because it came back when he was fully fit and he had a lot more games to be able to take part in. And when he plays, he's a fantastic footballer, and you could argue he's our most talented footballer. But he misses a lot of football. He does, and it's like for Paul Pogba.
Goes underrated that a bit,
and it does worry me a lot because it's like, do I want Paul Pogba to stay? Basically, yeah, I do. I really do want Paul Pogba to stay. But if he doesn't want to stay, then it's time to move on. And also, if Paul Pogba does stay, and this is something you can't make happen, or you've just got to hope for the best, you want him to play as many games as possible, and he just doesn't do that. He played 22 games in all competitions last season.
Yeah.
I mean, with the break that we had, he's still, because he missed most of it, was earlier on in the season. The season before that, in all competitions, 47, which is quite decent. The season before that, which I was talking about, 37 in all competitions, 27 in the league. So he missed a quarter of the league games.
Yeah.
More than a quarter of the league games, which for a player as influential as Paul Pogba, you need him, you miss him when he's not playing. And, people go, well, we've got Donny van de Beek. Well, we haven't, because he's been injured as well. But when Bruno Fernandes was struggling a little bit with form, Paul Pogba steps up against Fulham, he steps up against Burnley. That's the Paul Pogba you want.
West Ham as well.
West Ham, thank you. You think, he's picking up the slack, and we're picking up wins. When he was out of the team, and Bruno was off form, we started losing and drawing. Do you know what I mean? Or we just kept drew a load of games and dropped vital points. And I think, even going back to the Everton game where he went off, if he stays on that pitch, we win that game. Do you know what I mean? So he is vital, but we need, we can't just be relying on someone who's injured all the time and doesn't want to be here. So I think he's going to end up moving on, and I think it's probably best if that's what he wants to do, that he just does move on. And I'm sad to say that because I really like Paul Pogba. Connor Allen says Pogba was carrying us through December when we were on top of the league. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. He was playing really well, and his and Bruno's form sort of complemented each other, and it worked out well for Manchester United. But what is it Ronaldo said? Cristiano Ronaldo Brown. The best ability is availability. Very true.
And if he's not playing, it doesn't matter how good he is, does it?
No.
And yeah, I think that it almost does go under the radar. And I wonder, and piecing this back together, sort of reversely.
Yes.
That's a word that we use. I wonder if some of Raiola's comments have come to sort of mask that a little bit. Because he chirped up again 2 or 3 weeks ago out of nowhere saying, don't know what you all got so mad about Paul Pogba for. And it sort of took the conversation away from his injury and back to his agent. I wonder if he times these things around form and around injuries to sort of protect the image of Paul Pogba. Because like you said, he does get injured a lot, doesn't he? And he's often out for 2 weeks with this, or out for a couple of weeks with that, and then, as of recently, out for a few months with this, a few months with that. We're not sure when he's going to be back. All of a sudden, it's 7 or 8 months he hasn't played for. So, yeah, that's an interesting one, and I might go back, look at the timing of some of Raiola's comments, and look at the timing of some of Paul Pogba's injuries, and see if they line up a bit there, because I wonder if some of it's a bit of a distraction from Raiola. But, yeah, it's getting toward the end, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. We'll move on quickly. Pau Torres is a player we've been linked with. This came up, was it a few months ago?
Yeah.
Where it was like, looked like United are sort of monitoring him.
It was mentioned in the summer, wasn't it? We had someone on the tier 1, I remember, saying United are interested in Pau Torres.
Pau Torres, centre-back, tall centre-back. Is he about 6'4" or something? Obviously, he's playing over in Spain. How old is he? Let me just have a look. He's 24, so he's not a youngster. He's a young player, but he's not a youngster, which is arguably what United need, because Ireland needs someone who's able to come into the team and not, let's get another young player who can sort of play in a few years' time. You can see there, this is from the MEN, United have identified the Villarreal centre-back as a potential summer signing with his ability as a left-footed defender, making him a candidate to be a long-term partner for Harry Maguire.
Oh, to be a left-footed centre-back, AJ. They're like
they're like unicorns.
Yeah. Louis van Gaal was obsessed with them. It was literally like Moby Dick, and that's the white whale or whatever whatever it is. You know what I mean? He's Captain Ahab, or that's the one. like some managers just want left-footed left side, right-footed right side. Van Gaal was like mad on it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Almost fanatical about it, to the point where we had 5'9" Daley Blind playing at left centre back for 2 years.
I'm doing a half decent job.
Yeah, I like Daley Blind, but I don't think he would have been the first choice if we'd have had someone a bit bigger available. I don't know the quality of this guy. I know that we have been linked with him since the summer. I know that he's a highly rated player. Again, you look at Ruben Diaz this summer. He's been brilliant for coming in this summer. He's been brilliant for City. But then let's not forget, and as I've said before, last year or 18 months ago, Aymeric Laporte was the best thing since sliced bread, and he's only just about got back in the team at Manchester City and looked shaky again tonight for a couple of their goals. So I always wonder with centre-backs exactly whether it's the system, whether it's a sequence of form, and again, I keep saying this, I put a lot of centre-back success on the midfielders directly in front of them, because I don't think it's a coincidence that Man City won the league with Otamendi and Di Michaelis playing, or whoever it was, these sorts of players alongside Vincent Kompany when he was injured half the time, because of Fernandinho more than anything. So I think United probably do need one centre-back or maybe a couple of centre-backs. But more than that, I think we need someone who's world-class directly in front of him. And that goes back to the last point about Paul Pogba. If he's going to go, we've got to get the best number 6 available, I would say. In terms of Pau Torres, if he's the right man, get him in.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those where it's difficult to sort of gauge unless you've watched a lot of Spanish football and you've seen a lot of the lad. You can't just go, he's left-footed, stick him in there. Villarreal aren't exactly setting the world on alight. I think they're in 7th in the league. I know that's not necessarily all down to him, but it's not like he's like a shining star in the league. He's obviously doing well, but yeah, I mean, I'd have to see more of him, to be honest with you. There's just a big chunk of centre-backs that we're linked with, aren't there? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, he's one of them, who's the Kanate, the other lad, and Koundé, the other lad. There's just, there's some Varane as well. You can throw him into that mix. We'll have to wait and see whether this happens or not, but as always, we'll keep you posted. The one thing's for certain, we need a centre-back. We need someone who can line, because I like Victor Lindelof, I like Eric Bailly, and, I like, if you want to go a bit further, like Axel Tuanzebe. But can we really rely on any of them to partner Harry Maguire for the full season? I'm not so sure. And let's face facts, Harry Maguire isn't going anywhere. JD says, if Murtagh takes on more footballing duties at the executive level, it isn't more of the same. He did well with the women's team, so let's see. He did do well with the women's team. Speaking to Natalie B earlier, who met him, who knows him. Obviously, she's part of the Barmy Army, who follows the women's team. Yeah, he did. Well, let's see. Listen, I've said it before, and I say it again, I'll, give anyone a chance.
Yeah,
Joe was saying it, it's not, you can have your reservations, and doesn't mean we're not going to give the guy a chance. But for me, the only way you're ever going to know or think whether an executive at United is doing a decent job is if we're winning football matches. You're not going to go, oh, well, he's great, the executive. We might have lost 5-0 to the Scousers, but I'll tell you what, Murtagh's doing a decent job. You can't blame him for that. It's not how it works. It's all about, silverware for me.
I obviously want him to be successful, not just from a fan perspective of wanting United to win, which is by far the main reason I want him to be successful. But I would like to think that if we are successful off the back of this change, that means that not only he is good at his job, but the people who appointed him are competent at doing their job as well, because they got him in. So hopefully it works, and I hope that it does. But again, I just have some reservations.
You do, mate, and I understand them. We'll just skip through. We'll go straight through because it's been on for an hour. We'll go through to one final centre-back link.
Oh, yes. Let me guess. Jules Koundé.
No.
Kanate.
No.
Varane.
No.
Sergio Ramos.
No.
What? There ain't any more centre-backs than that.
It's your old mate, Koulibaly.
Hey! Go on.
We've not had him for a few weeks.
No.
If you don't know, where have you been? I mean, we were linked with this guy about 2 seasons ago for about £100 million.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, in the last 2 years, he's got 2 years older.
Has he?
Which is a little bit worrying. He's gone from being 27 to 29.
Yeah.
And you know how fractions work. You're 29 now.
Yeah.
Until you're 30.
Well, but when we signed him, he'd be 30. He's 30 on the 21st of June, so by the time he plays for United, he's 30. So for all intents and purposes,
if you're going to round it up,
we're signing a 30. I'm not rounding it up. He will never play a game for Manchester United as a 29-year-old.
If you round it up, he's 30 already.
Yeah.
That's not how fractions work, though.
Yeah, it is.
Are you too thick to understand? If you know, you know. Yeah, I don't think this is ever going to happen. Someone there, in the first comment I'm reading, Jake Driver says, think the Koulibaly train has passed. I agree. I don't see it happening. Even at a discount of, 50 million?
Yeah.
Because it's reported Napoli would ask for less than half of the previously touted 100 million euros. United could face competition from Liverpool and Bayern Munich for his signature. Bayern Munich again, man. Just fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I don't want him, it just annoys me.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. We'll keep you posted if it does. Would you have him if he was 40 million?
If he's 40 million, yeah, give him a go. Finally see if he's any good. Still just think he's
I wish I'd saw more of him, because I know some against Arsenal, he didn't impress me, but you can't judge someone off that, because it's a proper base argument. I saw him once, he won all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to see more of him, but I don't see it's happening, unless it was a right bargain, and Woodward and Murtaugh or whoever.
Oh, I can't resist it, go on.
Like
40 million.
And then me and you'll be stood here going, we'll give him a chance, not what we wanted, we really wanted, but we'll settle for this guy, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of experience and all the rest of it, but yeah.
The thing is though, if he went to Bayern, he'd look sensational because every one of their players looks fantastic because they're by far the best team in that league. If he went to Bayern Munich, you'd go, fucking hell, he was as good as he thought. Who was it they had before? Mehdi Benatia. Know him? No, didn't think so. He started like 2 seasons for Bayern Munich, won a couple of leagues, fucked back off again.
He was the one.
For those 2 years, he was one of the best in the world. And then he just bounces around everywhere else for the rest of his career. People like you go to Bayern, you look good. It's as simple as that, honestly. Like now at the minute, everyone who plays for all of a sudden Zinchenko is a world-class left-back because they don't concede many goals. He's not. There's loads of players in that team who aren't that good. But because they're playing so well as a team, they all must be world-class. Same thing with Liverpool last season. There's about 5 good players in that team, and then the other 6 are basically just holding on for dear life and being called world-class players. Absolute shite.
To be fair,
yes,
we started all this. We were the worst ones for it.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of Premier League medals we've dished out to people. And it's great because we can ram it down Steven Gerrard's throat where you go, Luke Chadwick won, Gerrard nil, Shinji won, Gerrard nil, Fletcher 5, whatever it is, Anderson 4. It's just, even if you weren't that great for United, you can have 4 title-winning medals.
But do you know the difference, Jay?
So I think we can't really moan too much.
We didn't have the audacity to sell Tom Cleverley for 120 million quid to Barcelona. Yeah. That's what Liverpool did because they had a decent run and then they sell all their best players. Well, at least we sold Tom Cleverley for 12 million. When it comes to selling these players, we were respectful. We made them out to be world class, sure. Who wouldn't? But when it's time for them to leave, we sell them for the price they're worth, and that's fair.
We had a fire sale at one point. We were just giving away players. It was just ridiculous. Finally, we'll just wrap up with a few comments from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference. We've got the Milan game in the Europa League round 16, is it? Mm-hmm. Tomorrow night at OT. So obviously, Ole was doing his presser today. Speaking ahead of that, he spoke about Cavani. We've already addressed that. And also Haaland. We've already spoken about that. And you can see the comment there that he said, the graphics on the screen, I'd gladly give away all my records to improve what I'm doing now.
What do you think his best record is? Like Revolver first edition?
I knew you were going to go
some like Billie Jean single or something. What do you reckon?
I reckon it's Message in a Ball and Police.
Nice.
Because he was asked about his records and he was asked about Erling Haaland. And
not to be a dickhead at all here. What records does Ole have?
What records does Ole have?
Yeah.
Like, loads.
Go on then.
Well, he's the only player who's come off the bench and scored 4 goals against Nottingham Forest in 11 minutes.
In that season.
That's a record.
Right.
Right. He's the only player that scored a treble-winning goal in the history of English football.
Right.
Yeah. Any more? You happy with that? What? He's probably the most successful Norwegian footballer the Premier League's ever seen.
Right.
And that ties in with Haaland because he's Norwegian as well.
Okay.
So that's a record.
Yeah.
He's the only man to get sent off for a 70-yard sprint across the pitch at Old Trafford and taking out Robert Lee for what was a definite goal in a 1-1 draw with Newcastle.
Right.
That's a record.
I stand corrected.
So he's got loads.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he's a fantastic player who I think is underrated for actually how good he was.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was full of records. But maybe he's certainly the most decorated Norwegian player of all time, you'd have thought, wouldn't you?
I mean...
Go on, are you Googling it?
I'm looking at that. I'm trying to see, if there's any...
Oh, I think the record is the most Champions League goals for a Norwegian player.
Oh, right, yeah. There you go. There's a record. Hasn't Erling Haaland scored about 27 in 3 games or something this season?
Whatever, yeah.
It's something ridiculous. Speaking about Marcus Rashford as well, you can see on the graphic, Ollie says, I don't think he'll be available for tomorrow. Didn't train today. Normally very optimistic, but think he's out for tomorrow night and a doubt for the weekend. I want him to be out. Just rest him. Stop throwing him back in when he's not 100%. Do you know what I mean? It absolutely does me in. And then we'll have a story later. He needs an operation, but he's been carrying injury. Or they'll come out with he's aggravated an injury that he was carrying, and that's why we had to take him off. Just let him have a rest because he needs one. He's absolutely breaking himself for Manchester United Football Club, and we should be able to rest Marcus Rashford now and again. It's getting beyond a joke. Going to leave it there. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the comments, in the chat, hitting the like button. Much appreciated. We're going to be back tomorrow.
Yes.
What's the plan of attack tomorrow?
Well, the plan of attack, for anyone who's watching, by the way, don't get caught out. It's an early kickoff, 5 to 6 kickoff. So don't turn up at 7:45 thinking...
Really? I didn't even know that.
So you were meant to know. So 5 to 6 kickoff tomorrow, and also 7:15 kickoff on Sunday.
I've made plans. I better change them.
Yeah, you better sort them out. Dinner dates.
Someone else can pick the kids
5
up.
6 kickoff. We'll be here from 4:30. Stephen Howson, Alex on the pre-show. Then it's going to be me. Then it's going to be you. Then it's going to be Adam McCullough. Full house tomorrow, boys. Make sure you check it out. Man United against fellow European giants. AC Milan.
Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Tartans.
Two of Europe's greatest ever football clubs.
To be honest, I'm actually really looking forward to that. So make sure you check that out, of course, the watch along.
Joe, where can people find you?
At Joe Smith93 on Instagram and Twitter.
Make sure you go and follow Joe. You know where to find me. Do you know what I mean? I'm just circling the streets of Eccles in my Ford Focus. This has been...
The window pulled down, getting about 4 miles an hour. You want a lift?
Those allegations are completely unfounded.
You're just a good Samaritan.
I'm a lot better since I started taking my tablets. This has been Transfers Live.
Got library books in here.
Why do you always end up at the very end of the show, making me out like some sort of predator?
I like to trip you up on the
I do not drive around Salford saying I've got library books in my car, shouting out the window to strangers.
I can't get out of the car. Will you return them for me? They're in the back. Just crawl in. Get them. They're in the bag under the seat.
That has literally not happened for weeks.
Yes, it has.
It's talking rubbish. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.